It wasn't that long ago that EGAT ruled women's tennis with 6 Grand Slams and years as the world's #1. No one thought she was finished. Her future seemed secure, but then 2026 changed everything. Now, a highly regarded tennis coach is suggesting she might not hold a spot in the top 5, and Alex's name is central to that debate. Leave your thoughts below. Can EAC find her form at the Miami Open, or will her ranking continue to fall from here? Let us know your opinion, but first let's examine who said this and why their words have such an impact. Dmitry Tursunov is far from just some random person online with a strong opinion. He has mentored Aryna Sabalenka, who is the current world #1, and also coached Belinda Bencic. He's also guided Anett Kontaveit and Elena Rybakina, including a brief period with Emma Raducanu in 2022. This coach has operated at the pinnacle of women's tennis, helping players win Grand Slams and reach the #1 ranking in the sport's biggest events. When he analyzes a player's path, the tennis community listens because his history gives him authority. What he stated about Iga was incredibly direct. He posted on Telegram that it's improbable she'll manage to break out of her current slump. He then went on to define what he considered a slump, and it wasn't about regaining the top WTA ranking. His point was about her ability to simply stay within the top 5. He mentioned he can't recall Świątek ever facing this degree of pressure in her career, even on clay. He then wondered how many more red flags she needs before everyone admits the truth of the situation. That's a powerful claim from a credible voice, and the facts sadly back it up. Let's review the decline in Świątek's performance lately because the trend is deeply concerning for those who enjoy competitive tennis at the highest level. Between July 2024 and May 2025, she didn't make a single final, not a Grand Slam, a WTA 1000, or any other tournament. For someone once hailed as an all-time great, it was a stunning drought. As a direct consequence, she surrendered the world #1 ranking to Aryna Sabalenka. Then, it seemed she had found her way back, winning Wimbledon for her first major title on grass. A win at Cincinnati, and another at the Korea Open followed. With the clay season nearing where she has always been her strongest, things were looking up. With 4 French Open trophies, her record on red dirt had made her seem almost invincible. The story was all about her comeback. People believed Świątek was back and poised to challenge for the top ranking in 2026. But then 2026 started, and the positive turn she had taken led right back to the same issues. At the United Cup, she suffered singles losses to Coco Gauff in the semifinals and Belinda Bencic in the final. On their own, those are not humiliating defeats. Gauff and Bencic are top-tier opponents, but the context of those losses and what happened next suggested a worrying decline in form and belief. The Australian Open ended with a quarterfinal defeat at the hands of Elena Rybakina. The Qatar Open saw another quarterfinal exit to Maria Sakkari, and a third at Indian Wells to Elena sent her to 3rd in the WTA rankings, while Rybakina hit #2 for the first time. This is more than just a brief stumble. This has become a distinct pattern. And this is where Alex Eala comes in, as the Miami Open draw has Świątek seeded 2nd with a possible 3rd-round match against the 31st seed Eala. This isn't just a theory. This potential matchup is a real possibility based on the tournament's structure. This is critical to her ranking situation for a couple of reasons. First, Świątek triumphed at the Miami Open in 2022 when she was at her peak. She is very familiar with this tournament, and the court surface complements her playing style. Miami is an event where, theoretically, she's expected to do quite well. Coming in after 3 straight quarterfinal losses instead of being in championship form completely alters the pressure she is facing. Secondly, her last match against Eala at this event was in last year's quarterfinals, and Eala was victorious. She won decisively as a wildcard, ranked 140th against the sport's most dominant player. That outcome, initially seen as a shocking upset, now appears to be an early sign of a new reality. Yaya knows how to defeat the best. She achieves this by playing fearlessly, matching her opponent's power and delivering her best tennis in the most crucial moments. So, Świątek enters Miami ranked 3rd, trying to break a quarterfinal losing streak and might have an early rematch with the person who beat her here last year. This is a very challenging position, and Senenov's forecast starts to sound less like an attack and more like a clear-eyed view of her current struggles. The ranking calculations make the situation even more intense. If she loses early in Miami and Coco Gauff makes the semifinals, or final Świątek will fall to 4th in the WTA rankings. Dropping to 4th for an athlete who dominated the sport for years and was considered among the greatest of her time is a significant fall. Dropping from the top spot to 4th in the world in under 2 seasons is a career shift that can permanently alter a player's story unless it's reversed soon. For Świątek, the one bright spot in this entire situation is what Senenov noted regarding the upcoming clay season. Since she didn't secure any clay championships in 2025, she's defending fewer points on the red courts this spring than she did in her prime. In theory, she still has a very strong chance of winning the French Open. Her performance on clay has been nothing short of legendary, and Roland Garros continues to be the event where her style most easily leads to complete control. Should she manage to avoid a disastrous early loss in Miami, regroup psychologically, and head into the clay season with some forward motion, public perception could change once more. However, Tursunov argues that the Miami Open embodies the very type of pressure that has been her undoing lately. Suffering another quarterfinal loss here, particularly if it's to Eala, in a highly anticipated rematch the whole tennis world will be tuned into, would be significant. A loss on center court with a Filipino crowd creating a home field atmosphere could seriously undermine her confidence right before the crucial stretch of her season. The situation appears even more challenging when you consider the wider developments at the peak of the women's game. Aryna Sabalenka is currently performing at an all-time high in her career. Heading into Miami, her 2026 record stood at an impressive 17 wins and just a single loss. She claimed the Indian Wells title after saving a championship point in a third-set tiebreak versus Rybakina. With 4 Grand Slams and 10 WTA 1000 titles to her name, she's playing at a level few on the tour can currently touch. For the first time ever, Elena Rybakina has achieved the #2 world ranking. Her accomplishments include a Wimbledon championship appearances and several other major finals, and a playing style centered on one of the most formidable serves women's tennis has ever seen. She made it to the final at Indian Wells, forcing Sabalenka into a decisive tiebreak. Her steady performance in 2026 indicates that her high ranking is likely to be sustained, not just a passing phase. Coco Gauff holds the current U.S. Open title and is one of the tour's most marketable athletes. Moreover, her style is precisely what has been giving Świątek problems: aggressive, powerful, and able to match her pace from the baseline. Then, of course, there's Alex. She's hit a career-high ranking of 29th globally, rising after victories against Świątek, Keys, Ostapenko, and Pawini, plus a commanding performance over Gauff the last time they played. At just 20 years old and still improving, she's drawing comparisons from Kim Kerrs to Michael Jordan for her cultural impact. Upon arriving in Miami, she'll be backed by the most fervent and coordinated supporters in the stadium, cheering from the very first point. For Swed, the issue isn't one specific rival. The challenge lies in the fact that the top tier of women's tennis is now much tougher and more populated than during her years of dominance, while her own reliability has faltered just as her rivals have stepped up their game. This convergence of factors is what Tursunov highlights when he suggests the main goal is maintaining a top 5 spot rather than reclaiming the #1 position. Holding the world #1 ranking in 2022 and 2023 meant you were undeniably superior to all other top contenders. In 2026, being in the top 5 means holding your own in an environment where Sabalenka is the commanding force. Rybakina is making a strong comeback, Gauff poses a serious threat, and Eala is on a meteoric rise that shows no signs of leveling off. It's important to focus on the Eala factor in particular, as she is the most recent addition to the competitive mix, and her history is most pertinent to the Miami storyline. The mental game behind a rematch is complex after an opponent has defeated you at a major event. There's a desire to demonstrate that the previous loss was just due to specific circumstances. You aim to prove that performance was an outlier, but facing the same opponent who defeated you here a year ago in the same venue on the very same court presents a different challenge. With that opponent now seated and ranked in the top 30 and backed by thousands of fans who will be more vocal than any crowd Świątek has encountered recently, it becomes a much tougher mental hurdle than typical match prep. The red flags that Tursunov is mentioning are all clearly present. There have been 3 straight quarterfinal losses, a drop in ranking from 1st to 3rd with 4th place, looking like a real possibility to Eala, and a performance trend that is declining, not improving. She's facing a possible 3rd-round rematch against someone who has already defeated her here right before a clay season where her past success is significant, yet her rivals have been gaining on her. It is truly uncertain if she can turn things around in Miami. The skill is undoubtedly there, and the approaching clay season offers a chance for a fresh start. Tennis history is filled with stories of athletes who endured tough periods only to return more formidable than before. The distinction here is that the player who reigned supreme for 3 years and then started to falter is now being pursued by a 20-year-old who defeated her in this same city 12 months prior and has since become a much more threatening competitor. Tursunov isn't suggesting that Świątek is on the verge of retiring. He is forecasting that to remain in the top 5, she will need to display a quality she has yet to reveal in 2026. The initial true measure of her ability to deliver will be seen the moment she steps onto the court at Hard Rock Stadium. From being #1 in the world to battling to keep a top 5 ranking, Iga Świątek's 2026 season is a narrative no one foresaw, and all are following intently. If you agree with Sinov's forecast and believe her slump will persist in Miami, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe for more content, and share your thoughts down in the comments. Could Sweet actually beat Ella in a second match, or